Need for Speed is a racing game franchise that's been around for 20 years and has made a total of 25 games over time. Throughout the series' lifetime, it's sold over 150 million copies, making it one of the most popular video game series to ever exist. Today I talk about every single Need for Speed game I have ever played. Before I begin, I just want to thank everyone wholeheartedly for 4,000 subscribers. I know I'm a month late to making this video, but it really means a lot to me. The fact that I've built my channel from the ground up since 2021 and have reached this milestone so quickly is genuinely mind-blowing. Thank you all so much for supporting my channel, and I thank you for watching the rest of this video. Now, to make this video unique from others, the order of the games I'll be talking about will be in the same order in which I've played them, starting from the first ever I've played to the most recent. That first one being Need for Speed Heat. Need for Speed Heat is the 24th game developed in the Need for Speed series and was released on November 8th, 2019. However, I got this game on Christmas 2021, but didn't actually play it until July 12th, 2022 due to my Xbox not having enough space for it. The story takes place in a fictitious version of Miami, Florida, known as Palm City. The secondary main character Anna and her brother Lucas invite you, the main character, to live in their garage until you can find a place for you to live. And as the weeks go on, you street race against many different people from an event called the Speed Hunters Showdown. As the Speed Hunters Showdown gets more and more famous, the cops soon find out about it and start impounding cars of each member. What makes the cops impounding our cars so bad is that they don't make a record of it when they impound it. And after that, they ship them out to other countries in exchange for big amounts of money. And it's all up to you and Anna to expose this entire scheme. Throughout the storyline, you meet many people that help you get closer and closer to the police lieutenant, Frank Mercer, aka the mastermind behind this whole thing. And during the last mission of the series, Mercer tries to escape with one of the impounded cars, that being the M3 GTR, but we end up crashing into him enough times to total the car, leading him up to the judgment of his assistant officer, Eva Torres. The gameplay of Need for Speed Heat isn't bad by any means. It doesn't feel like you have to struggle to turn at high speeds, or make coming out of a drift complicated, unlike some NFS games. Also, the ability to change from daytime to nighttime when you're in a garage is actually pretty nice. You're not forced to play the game in a setting you don't like. And it's a very broad selection of cars you can buy, from Volkswagens to McLarens, and an immense amount of visual and performance upgrades for each car. Also, the police behavior can get very intense. At heat level 1 and 2, it's pretty gentle, but once you hit heat level 3, every single thing changes. The cops basically release Georgia State Patrol units on you, specifically Dodge Chargers and Chevrolet Corvettes, and give you the hardest hits your car can possibly handle.
Got an armored unit coming in fast.
On top of that, practically 1/4 of your car's health gets destroyed for every hard hit you get, making NFS Heat's cops probably the hardest cops to evade in the entire NFS series. But due to this, you're not without your own defense. For each night you have a total of 3 to 4 chances to repair your car by driving through gas stations, and going fast towards ramps usually take out all the cops behind you. With all that out of the way, we can move on to the second game, which is Need for Speed Unbound. NFS Unbound is Need for Speed Heat's predecessor, coming out in December 2022. I got this game an exact year after I got NFS Heat, that being Christmas 2022. This game's story takes place in a fictional version of Chicago, Illinois known as Lakeshore City. The story starts off with you, the player, and a friend of ours named Yaz. One night, you and Yaz are test driving a Nissan Silvia S14 through the city, and after a few races, Yaz gets a call from an old ally of hers from the foster system she was raised in named Alec. A few days later, while the player was by themselves, the alarm at their father's garage named Rydell's Rides goes off. When the player arrives to the garage, this happens.
Rydell, you okay?
They emptied the lot.
Wait here.
I knew it. I told y'all. Jasmine! Who is that?
I don't know that dude.
Yes, let's go!
They just said your name. Who did you tell about this place?
I didn't.
Yes! Wait! What the hell?
After that, there's no sign of Yaz's existence until 2 years later when a street racing team she's in gets popular. Yaz tells the team she's putting together a group of 3 races, which are qualifying rounds to win a cash prize of $1 million. Each qualifier race takes place 1 week after the next, and throughout the days, we race more and more to win money to build cars, get upgrades, and make Rydell's garage up and running again. There were quite a few things I didn't like about Unbound when I first started playing it. Those things being that the cops weren't anywhere near as aggressive as they were in Heat, or actually in any other NFS game. The cars you could buy were pretty much feeling like a rerun of the same things we got from Heat, including the Mercedes-Benz 190E and Sylvia S14. A$AP Rocky's appearance wasn't anywhere near as important to the story, unlike how the trailer made it. And the game's horrible, ear-melting, god-awful soundtrack.
Somebody say, hey, we want some money.
But all jokes and ranting aside, this game is really good, especially because of the fact that this is the first NFS game to get multiple updates over the span of 2 years. And also, they have a complete team of people hired specifically for the updates. The online version has a lot more modes than the average single player version, that being a cops versus racer mode, where half of the players in the server drive as a cop, and take out the other half of the server, which are racers, a drag racing mode, which consists of 4 players driving fast in a straight line and timing shifting points correctly to go faster, a drift pro mode, which is specifically made for seeing who can hold a drift for the longest 2 corners, and lastly, a free roam mode, which is basically just an online version of the single player mode, but with an extra event that happens every few minutes, where all the players go to a specific part of the map in a big green circle, and then complete challenges like getting airtime, drafting, and doing donuts. The update part of Need for Speed Unbound basically took all the downsides from the single player mode and fixed them. A few months after I first played Unbound, my 15th birthday rolled around and one of the games I got were Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered. A remaster of a game is when an old game gets a lot of popularity, so for one of the anniversaries, the developers of the game decide to remake the exact same thing, but with slightly better graphics, and that's exactly what EA did to Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. Hot Pursuit Remastered came out on November 6th, 2020. This game doesn't necessarily have a real storyline, it's more of just a game where the more you level up with bounty, the more better things you can get. Similar to Unbound's Hot Pursuit inspired update, the player of this game has the ability to be a cop in some missions, and a racer in others. There's 4 types of races in Hot Pursuit Remastered: Gauntlet, Hot Pursuit, Time Trial, and Interceptor. Gauntlet is a solo run where you have to reach the finish line in a certain amount of times while outrunning the cops. Hot Pursuit is when you're racing other drivers as a racer while evading the police. Time Trial, okay, I'm not gonna go over the Time Trial because it's quite literally just a gauntlet, but just without the cops. And Interceptor, where you're a cop and you take out racers. This game's soundtrack is absolute perfection. It has a great mixture of rock, rap, party, and electro music. I genuinely wish I could have played the original version of this game back in the early 2010s just to experience the nostalgia of what this game was. I think Hot Pursuit Remastered is the only NFS game where you can actually fight back against the cops. You have a spike strip jammer, which makes you immune to spike strips that you get thrown at ineffective, an EMP jammer, which temporarily makes you immune to getting your cars kill switched, and my favorite out of all 3, a turbo system. The turbo system gives your car an insane speed boost that can help you evade almost every cop in the matter of 5 seconds. That's pretty much all I have to say about Hot Pursuit, but there's another game I got for my birthday that year. That one being Need for Speed 2015.
Yeah. Cheers. Cheers.
So funny enough, Need for Speed 2015 wasn't actually called Need for Speed 2015. It was just called Need for Speed, without actually making a real title for the game that makes it specific. but the entire NFS community basically unanimously agreed to call this game NFS 15 so people knew what they were talking about. Anyway, NFS 2015 is the 22nd installment in the Need for Speed franchise, and was the second NFS game to be strictly online, that first one being Need for Speed World coming out in 2010. NFS 2015 takes place in a fictional city version of Los Angeles known as Ventura Bay. The only problem about the location of this game is that it's not actually the city part of LA. It's more of the outskirts of it. But hey, I have to give it to the developers of this game for making practically a one-to-one comparison of the real-life outskirts of the city. See that bridge right there? That bridge is actually there in real life. NFS 2015 was the last Need for Speed game to have any Toyotas in it as of 2024. The storyline is based around you, the main character, becoming more and more famous in the street racing world with the help of different mechanics, influencers, and even well-known automotive celebrities like Ken Block and Magnus Walker. However, I must point out I haven't finished this game's storyline yet, so please bear with me with what I do and don't talk about. One thing that makes NFS 2015's storyline stick out is that it's the only modern NFS game to have live action cutscenes. Also, this game's graphics are absolutely top notch. No, I'm serious, this game can actually sometimes look real, and it only complements the perfect mixture of real life people and game graphics. There's not really any downsides to this game other than the fact that the cops are probably the weakest ones in the entire franchise, right under Unbound's single player mode.
Hey y'all, come look at this.
Let's go.
Are you serious right now, bro?
I'll add an editor's note about this game along with all the other incomplete games in the description once I've finished them all. Fast forward a few months, I've kept playing all the previous games I mentioned, but I kind of wanted something new. Something different. Christmas was still 4 months away and there was no sign of any new NFS game coming out. That's when I found out about one small NFS game that came out all the way back in 2005, known as Most Wanted. 2005 is a pretty important year for racing games, due to famous games like Gran Turismo 4, Burnout Revenge, and Midnight Club 3, but Need for Speed Most Wanted is probably the most notable out of all of them. It shaped people's childhoods and got a lot of kids into car and tuner culture. Just look into the comments section of one of the songs from the soundtrack and everyone will be talking about how it was their favorite song in the game back then. NFS Most Wanted's story takes place in a made-up city called Rockport. It's not confirmed on where Rockport is based off of, but if I had to guess, it's probably either Seattle, Washington, or Charlotte, North Carolina. You, the main character, have been ramping up attention in the city from street racing different people in your race-spec BMW M3 GTR. I want you guys to take a moment to see how crazy this car is. Also, come to think of it, how on earth did we manage to attain a $500,000 BMW that isn't even street legal? Huh? Anyway, after racing someone in a yellow Toyota Supra named Ronnie, we follow him to a warehouse-like area where we meet the main antagonist of the game, Razor. We decide to race Razor a few days later, but little do we know, Razor and his team poked our M3's oil pan, which caused the engine to break down mid-race. Thirsty for revenge, we decide to race all the other 14 members of his team called the Blacklist, and once we're done, we race Razor again and beat him. After that, the police officer that's been trying to shut down street racing in Rockport, named Sergeant Cross, sends every police unit after us in a massive chase. We escape by jumping across an old bridge that an ally we met at the beginning of the game named Mia told us about. I'm not even sure on how to begin with how crazy this game actually is though. See, I just told you about the storyline of the game, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. In order for you to race each member of the Blacklist, you have to complete a specific amount of races, reach a certain amount of bounty, and do enough crazy things in police chases that makes the Blacklist member feel that racing you was worth it. This game's goal is basically to turn you into a psychopathic driver that's willing to destroy everything and anything to evade police. But then we have the cops. Rockport's police department is willing to throw down and pray for your downfall in any way possible. They throw out spike strips, roadblocks, and even try to box you in the second they get the chance to, and the craziest thing yet is that they send these little police trucks called rhinos to throw you off your game and slam into you when you least expect it. And on top of that, if you get busted, your car gets this thing called an impound strike, and if you get 3 of these, your car gets impounded. You have the ability to buy back your impounded car after a while, but there probably won't be any other car that you choose that can reach the speeds that your main car can. I think the only thing that really helps you survive the cops is that your car doesn't suffer any damage when hit. Sure, your windows can shatter, but that doesn't affect your car's performance in any way possible. The attention to detail in this game is great too. I don't think there's any other NFS game that actually makes it feel like you're in the game. When was the last time you saw a game that simulates real-life police scanner chatter?
Attention Patrol Northeast. We just received a report of a Code 6 vehicle heading south through the Petersburg interchange. All units in the vicinity, please respond.
Dispatch, you got any other details on that? My screen's acting up here.
The complaint had hung up before we could get a description. Stand by, we're trying to call him back.
I've got the call on my screen. I'll head up and check it out.
There are over 13,000 audio files specifically made for pursuits. And since we're on the topic, why are there speech lines of the dispatch talking about Nissans, Mini Coopers, and Paganis when none of those brands are even in the game?
Party was reported in a Nissan. Stand by for a call. Caller advises the vehicle is a Mini. It has a custom paint job. Suspect is driving a Pagani. Looks like he's got one of those custom paint jobs.
I can go on and on for hours talking about Most Wanted, but I think that's enough for now. After Most Wanted's storyline ended, there was another NFS game made in 2006 that picked up right after it, called Need for Speed Carbon. NFS Carbon is almost like the sidekick of Most Wanted. It constantly gets overshadowed by it, but it's still a great game. It takes place in a city called Palmont, which is inspired by San Diego, California. The player from Most Wanted flees to Palmont after the insane chase from the end of Most Wanted. The reason why they chose to go to Palmont is because this is where they first met one of the characters in Carbon named Darius. As the player is driving on a mountain road, he has a flashback of Darius letting him use his Toyota Supra to win a street race, but suddenly, cops come. The player's girlfriend at the time, named Nikki, throws a big bag full of money into the passenger seat of the Supra, and then Darius tells him to leave the city to lay low from cop attention. This flashback is very important to the story, so remember it for later. A few seconds later, Sergeant Cross catches up to us on the mountain, but we crashed at the end of the road due to a log truck blocking the exit, ultimately destroying the M3 GTR. For now anyway. As our car is now crushed by the log, Cross gets out of his Corvette, but now is a bounty hunter, about to make us face our charges. Out of the blue, Darius shows up and pays all the debt for us. Surprisingly, we only had a bounty of quote-unquote 150,000, even though all players that finished the Most Wanted storyline had at least 10 million. You suck! But now, we have some debt to pay. In order to redeem ourselves, we have a rematch with everyone we raced before, but before our final race with Darius, we found out that Darius didn't give us the money from the race years prior to lay low. He gave us the money as a bribe to leave the city so he can rule over the street racing world.
You actually thought that I would front you the cash to save you from this loser? Then sit around while you were encroaching on my territory? Green's always been your problem. You've got a lot to learn about the big towns, little man. This city is mine, and it's time for you to disappear again.
It's Cross.
I know, crazy. Anyway, we beat him on a race in the canyons, and he accepts defeat. I think Darius is the only antagonist in the entire NFS series that actually accepts their loss. To me, Need for Speed Carbon basically feels like a nighttime version of Most Wanted, but with way more lore. The physics are the same, the car models are the same, and even the cop dialogue is the same.
Suspect is driving a red Supra. Suspect is driving a red Supra.
There's one small issue I have with this game though. Half of the cars in this game seem to be unlocked through doing different challenges and races rather than just being able to unlock them with money. However, I do perfectly understand that there are some people who enjoy those types of games, so it's only an issue on my end. So, that's every Need for Speed game I've ever played in my entire life. Again, I strongly apologize for making this video take so long. I didn't actually want to start editing the video until after I made that community post about the milestone. That way if some people unsubscribed, there would still be picture evidence that I once achieved it. I hope next year I'll be able to start making videos on time because it really makes me feel guilty for not. I thank you wholeheartedly for watching this video and for more than 4,000 subscribers.